Don, behind you.
Okay. Give us your name and where you're from.
My name is Gina Allen. I'm from Wright City, Missouri. I actually wrote that card about the stem cell explanation, but it wasn't a question, it was a request that whenever you do speak about stem cell, whether research or otherwise, that you do distinguish whether you are speaking about embryonic or adult, because when we do hear about the successes of adult, we don't want that confused with someone thinking that embryonic stem cell research is successful. So please do that.
Thank you for that correction, and appreciate it very much.
That's partly my fault, too. Thank you. That's very good.
I've got several more questions. We've got time for maybe one more here, maybe two. So let me ask this one. And this is for any of the panelists, when various Christian denominations cannot agree on social and moral issues such as abortion and homosexuality and even embryonic stem cell research, how do we convince the government that the conservative evangelical view is correct and the liberal Christian interpretation is wrong?
Change the government. Get people elected that believe like you do.
Okay.
I'm asked similar questions by legislators all the time. And so typically the ones who ask me that question are those who have some religious expression in their life, whether they're strong Christians or weak Christians or maybe not Christians at all. And so what I try to do is walk them through what are the basics of the theologies that lead different groups to this end that they're advocating for, whether it's the true gospel, whether it's the social gospel, or whether it's anti-gospel. And as I explain that to them, you can see the light bulbs going off. They start understanding why different advocacy groups coming from churches have the positions they do, and it helps them understand how they need to vote.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to convince everybody that you're right. You just have to go in with your convictions and bring as many people who share your convictions with you. Eventually, somebody's position wins the day. In our country, it's the person who shows up with the most people to make the policy. So, at that point, you're not going to convince somebody that you're trying to talk to about whose position is right, but you might be able, if it's a politician, look, politicians are counting votes all the time. When I go into a congressman's office or when I request a meeting with a senator or a congressman, I say I'm with the Southern Baptist Convention, the first thing that goes on is, well, that's a lot of votes, okay? They're always counting votes because most of them are always running for re-election. So you go in and you say, this is where most Southern Baptists are on this issue. You hand them the literature and you say, this is our position. All Southern Baptists don't hold to this position, which I don't know that there are very many things that all Southern Baptists do agree on, except all Southern Baptists don't agree on everything. That may be about the only thing we agree on. But most Southern Baptists do have a particular position, and so we try to represent that. We try to represent that in a respectful manner, in a persuasive manner, bringing all the tools to bear, not just biblical truth, but also social scientific truth, and just whatever you can bring to bear to help make your case. But you're not always engaged in a process of trying to convince everybody that you're right. You are trying to help them understand what your position is and why you want that position to be represented in law. I hope that answered the question.
Okay, let me give you one more here. I just lost it.
I've got a couple from the audience, too.
Okay.
Dave, let's get everybody's question.
Okay,
I don't want to leave until we got them all answered.
That's fine then.
We've got two more out here.
Okay, here's one. Is contraception equal to abortion or somehow different in God's eyes?
Yeah, contraception that does not result in the expulsion or the destruction of a human embryo is not abortion. Contraception that results in the destruction or the expulsion of a human embryo is abortion. So there are some things that are called contraceptives that are actually abortion causing. IUDs cause abortion. Some other so-called contraceptives like Ella and Plan B cause abortion. Some of these even dislodge embryos that attach to the mother's womb. Some of them prevent attachment, but in any case, if it causes the human embryo to be expelled, it's an abortion. So you really need to be careful about even the kind of contraception that you're using as well.
In the public debate, what the abortion community will do is they will try to frame the argument as to when does an abortion occur, and they consider life only occurs when the embryo implants on the side of the uterus, and that is false. So if you're dealing with this question in a secular environment, and probably even within your churches, you need to first define your terms and explain when life begins.
Yeah, they really, nobody plays word games better than liberals. Always ask them what they mean by the word they use, because when they tell you something prevents pregnancy, you say, oh, there's never a fertilized egg. That is not true. As Kerry says, for them, pregnancy is after the fertilized egg, after the embryo implants in the uterus. Until then, the woman isn't pregnant. I'm serious. That's what they say. So if it deals with that, before the implantation, there is no pregnancy, therefore there's no abortion, it's ludicrous. It is a human being. From the moment of fertilization, there is a human being there, regardless of where it is in the mother's body. And we need to stick to that, and we need to require that understanding be upheld.
It's getting late. Let's do these last few very quickly. I've got John Baker here from Dover, and John asked the question, what is sacred about human personality? And I thought maybe he might need to elaborate just for your benefit.
Yeah, in the Manhattan Declaration, you referred to the sanctity of life as being one of its mainstays. And in our statement of faith, our Baptist Faith and Message, it speaks of the sacredness of human personality. And I would like to know how that personality is sacred. Life, yes. Personality?
I don't know where that term is used, the sacredness of human personality, but clearly you have to have a person to have personality. So I'm more comfortable with talking about the sacredness or the sanctity of the human person. So, I can't really answer that question because I don't know why they chose the word personality. I've never used that expression before, except that I can understand if you have a person, you have a personality. So therefore, ultimately, you're dealing with the same essence, which is a human being. And the human person is sacred. It belongs to God. The human being is created in the image of God. We represent something of the divine in creation that nothing else in creation represents. Only humans are created in the image of God. We don't know all that means, but we do know that it means we possess something characteristic only of God, and therefore we are to be considered more highly valued than any other part of creation.
Ever since the adoption of the Articles of Principles from the Southern Seminary and the development of Baptist Faith and Message, and the various times it's been rewritten and remolded, is because of the changing meanings of words. I'm going to speculate, David, and you'll do the research and correct me, but I'm going to speculate that possibly the term personality there is synonymous with the term individuality. And that has a different connotation in the way we use the terms today. but I think they were synonymous terms at that time.
One of the great things about Southern Baptist life is if you don't like a word, vote on it and change it. And we do have the power to change it. And since language does change every now and then, and I've worked with 3 different Bible translations, I can tell you language is a river. And what it is today is not what it is tomorrow. And so if it's time to revisit that, bring it up.
Okay, it looks like, okay, well, we've got a couple more. Justin Nelson from down Springfield has the next question. Justin.
Sure. First of all, I want to say I appreciate you all today taking your time to inform us. I appreciate there's godly men who are still staying up for the truth today. A subject that's near and dear to my heart. I had a question. How has the teaching of Darwinian evolution in the school system affected the worldview of the church when it comes to the issues of life and the historicity and the reliability of the scriptures?
Well, Justin, I think you've gone to something here. It's sort of what I alluded to earlier. That is, we have a generation that thinks that naturalism is so. And we season that a little bit with our youth groups and disciple some, but we don't necessarily do a very good job of apologetics there. And so, we don't teach. It's a real challenge because that's they have them for such a long period of time. Somewhere we need to teach our students to question what they're learning, to be critical thinkers. And if they're critical thinkers, they move beyond just swallowing the pill that is doled out to them. But I don't know how effective we've been with that. So you want to jump in?
I'll make one quick point. Based on the research I've read, the teaching of evolution is the most failed teaching in American experience. That through all these years, less than 10% of the population has actually bought into it. But we know from our day-to-day lives that over 90% of the population has it so ingrained in their psyche that unconsciously it impacts them. And I think where it has hurt us the worst, I believe it has eroded our unction for the gospel.
Okay, all right. Okay. I believe we have two more.
I've got one last card.
Go.
And this is obviously for Michael. Risky or safe? Dr. or Mr. Whitehead, risky or safe? Showing at your local church a video of Dr. Barrett's presentation at the 2012 Worldview Conference.
Safe.
Okay.
Okay.
How fast was I going?
That's right.
Okay.
65.
All right. If